Welcome back to this series between Unicorns of Love and Vitality. And Unicorns of Love are gearing up for a must-win fight, as a loss in Game 2 means that hope to end in first place is gone, it is dead, it is done. They would be second. And Vitality coming into this one, they've selected red side, and Vedius. There's so many questions to ask after Game 1. Can Vitality do it again? Will Unicorns of Love come back? My head, I don't know what to expect, man. You gotta ground me. You gotta bring me back to earth here. What are we looking for?
So, let's answer your first question. Can Vitality do it? Yes. Can Unicorns of Love come back? Yes. How do we determine that? Through the draft. Because I feel like Unicorns of Love need to fix their draft after their Game 1. I don't want to see any of this trundle shenanigans. If you're going to pick a Caitlyn, pick something that can better synergize with it. The Galio, I think, was fine, but I also think that if you're going to play a hyper-aggressive jungler, you want something that can better complement him going for that invade style. They should have been the ones to get that early priority on something like Renekton, or maybe the Gnar themselves. So we'll see how things adapt, as they will both be on the same side.
Lucian ban remaining consistent. Zach Cho'Gath off the board as well. So far, it's identical. With the Maokai now taken away, Unicorns of Love don't want to see it. They're tired of the Maokai skin, they're tired of the kitty cats, and they're definitely tired of the early pressure that Djoko was pushing down, or putting down, in that series.
I do feel like that was definitely a comfort pick for Djoko that makes a lot of sense taking away. The Alistar, Kalista's also available. Instead, Unicorns, they're going to continue with their priority on the Caitlyn. Now, I'd love to see something like a Braum come out from the side of the Unicorns. For Vitality, I think that they can continue to go for the priority on the Kalista, and they're just going to change their jungler from a Maokai into a Gragas. So far, draft's pretty much the same.
They just pick Alistar. Or they're going to take Kalista away. It looks like they want to hide, at least for now, what their support pick is going to be. Of course, with an AD carry locked in on the opposite side, is safer, hides more information if you select an AD carry for yourself. But it's going to be the Gnar in the top lane immediately for Vizicsacsi. We saw so many Phase 2 bans coming out against the position in the top side. Looks like Unicorns of Love want to secure something impactful for good old Vizicsacsi.
Now, Vitality, they could just go for the casting once again here, rather than run the risk of it getting banned away, but you're already looking at much more powerful laners for the side of Unicorns of Love. Seeing a bit of a shift, I think the reason why this Jayce has been picked early is, remember, you can flex it between both mid and top. I'm expecting it more so to go into the top lane as an answer to the Gnar. This does mean that the Caston will get banned away, and that Exileh will have a slightly easier laning phase, but that to me implies that Nukeduck may very well have something else up his sleeves, an answer, or he could run the Jayce in the mid, and with no other top lane bans, you're looking at things like a Camille, or maybe even a Kennen that can also come out as an answer in the top lane.
I really wonder what Cabo's going to go for here. Nukeduck, we know he's a tried and true hand at the Jayce, one of his most played champions in solo queue. But is it going to be what he opts for? Will he select something different? 2 support bans coming out, trying to shut down any potential Caitlyn synergies as mentioned. And it looks like the Janna Kalista lane not going to happen either. Vitality won't get their hands on that powerful bot side duo.
Now, if Vitality go for the Alistar, yes, it will give you a strong level 6 all-in, but against the Caitlyn, you will not have the same level of pressure that you had in Game 1. That means that this bottom lane is going to be a much different setup compared to what we saw before. And now we have found out where that top and mid will be going.
Jayce going to the top side. Looks like Cabo comfortable picking this into the Gnar. Not a lane matchup we see too much of. Poppy now coming out. Oh, I know where. I'm going to wait. You don't know where this is going to go.
It would be useful if you could tell me. I want to say that it's a Poppy support at the top of my mind.
I'm going to wait on the off chance that our audio is so good that the team can hear us, but I'll wait. But I'm going to point for you so that you can tell people that I'm never...
Well, I already have an inclination as to where it's going to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is a jungle Gnar. Just kidding, it's jungle Poppy. But...
You had me going there for a second. I was like, wait, have you been baiting me this whole time?
Jungle Poppy coming into the hands of Xerxe, and I'll be honest, I have never seen this pick in competitive.
I've never seen this pick in competitive play either.
So we're going to find out together, dear audience, but the Alistar will be locked in. It will be that aggressive all-in on the bottom side. Vedius and Caitlyn now paired with a Bard. This is a tried and true Unicorns of Love special. They love the synergy between these two champions.
Okay, so Poppy in the jungle, we can talk a little bit more once we get into game, because I'm going to need some time to wrap my head around that one. But we can talk about some of the stuff that we do know. Gnar into the Jayce. For a long time, we've seen Gnar being causing a terror up in the top lane. A lot of tanks, really anything that you try to draft Gnar usually acts as an answer to, but the Jayce has a bit of a range advantage, can match the range that Gnar has during the laning phase. He has strong disengage tool because of the speed boost that he gets. He has strong wave clear, and he pairs nicely with the composition that Vitality have drafted for themselves because he can match that kind of pressure that Gnar is looking to exert. The thing about UOL is they have much more team fighting compared to what they had in Game 1. Leblanc into Ori, you'll have a lot more pressure. You have the Caitlyn Bard down in the bottom lane, which they also gives them pressure, but they don't have that same sort of invading jungler that they had in Game 1, which means that they're going to be more towards scaling. They're going to be playing towards the 1-3-1 with a little bit more essence of team fighting, but Vitality, they're going full on team fight once more. Kalista, Alistar, extremely strong engage. You have the Shockwave follow-up. You have Gragas barrel too. So many options to make a lot of mid to late game fights happen.
And folks, you saw it there on your screen. It's hashtag UOL win. Or if you're an H2K fan, it is hashtag VIT win, because first place and Group B is up for grabs. A Vitality win here will secure H2K into first place. And we're gonna find out now, can they do it again? Or will the Unicorns of Love come back as we get into Game 2? Well, that was super dramatic. I don't know whose voice line that was. I guess Kalista.
What happens when you bind with someone?
Oh, vengeance. See, I feel like that's a little thematically inappropriate, given that they did perfect game. If anyone's looking for vengeance, it is Xerxe, and he's going to look good doing it.
So Poppy jungle, I imagine that's what you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, inevitably, I think we need to.
Definitely a bit of a unique pick. I'm going to take a safe bet and say this is the first Poppy jungle of the summer split of 2017.
Yeah, I would say someone's going to whisper in my ear very soon whether or not that's true, but I'm almost 100% sure it's true. It's weird that I've started to doubt myself now, though, because I'm like, wait, did I watch every Unicorns of Love game? But yes, Poppy definitely picked Unicorns of Love, have busted out in the past. It was Vizicsacsi, I believe, last time. They pulled it out when Rengar was the OP that you could not give away to mitigate that ability to leap. Now it looks like they want to mitigate Kalista's ability to leap by potentially using it to shut down the bottom side.
I don't know if that's the core gameplay mechanic, but I will agree with you that the little shield thing that Xerxe gets around him will definitely help, because every time you try and dash through that, you get something knocked back. And it used to be a great answer into champions like Renekton, because whenever they tried to trade into you, you're like, no. And then they'd get denied. So when things like Jayce try to jump onto your face, when Alistar tries to jump onto your face, when a Kalista tries to move around, when Gragas tries to dash, yes, you have this great shield that can deny these sort of mobility skills. But the thing about Poppy is she does have a reasonable clear through the jungle. You have the Q, it has 2 procs, she's relatively tanky, and you can see she's also ran the Courage of the Colossus too, which she can proc using her knockback and her knock up. Her team fighting, the thing about Poppy is, I've heard Deficio talk a lot about how he was expected to come back more so in the top lane. Things like Cinderhulk synergize very nicely with her, which doesn't necessarily make for a great top lane choice, but the tankiness aspect of it is extremely strong. I'm expecting something like what we see from things like the Maokai and the Gragas, where you could have focused on an early Knight's Vow, maybe a Locket of the Iron Solari, or the Righteous Glory, so that you have options to just close that gap, force a lot of fights. But the big thing is how easy it is for you to stick onto AD carries. Even a mobile champion like Kalista, as you rightly said, you put your shield up, you have a lot of crowd control, and you have a lot of options with the red buff too to just stick to your target. And it means that it's easier for the rest of your team to also get on top of that. Things like Exileh and Chachi, they're going to be wanting to shut down Steelback. They don't want to give him another perfect game, and they want to try and make sure that he doesn't have the same sort of performance.
And that was an issue we noted in the composition in Game 1, Vedius, is that it was very difficult if Steelback was ever to get a lead to lock him down. Leblanc chain's pretty easy to dodge. We saw on the top side as well, Galio, pretty easy to avoid. Justice Punch, also easy to block. But Xerxe looks like this game not quite as content to farm. Cabo giving some respect though, staying safe, not looking to get any more aggressive even with a level advantage, but Djoko is here as well. Shield comes out, not gonna connect there.
I'm not entirely sure what Xerxe was trying to do there. I feel like a part of it was he was just prepared for a possible Djoko gank up to the top side. He just wanted to hang around just in case. When you think of early game junglers, I often don't think the Poppy is among the top ones. But regardless, the pressure still being exerted in the top side. And you can see now, Exileh, he might be a little bit behind in the farm department, but hang on, he's having a bit of a fight in the bottom lane.
Cowbell's coming in. He's going to find the stun on the auto attack. Range advantage means it's a bit difficult for Steelback to get in there and trade aggressively, but still a one trade for Vitality in the end, despite having a Caitlyn and a Bard on the bottom side.
I think the big thing was that Samux and Hylissang had already pushed in the wave underneath the turret, and because Vitality were able to get the first level 3, that meant that they had the ability to all in, which forced Unicorns of Love back, but they will be able to equalize the farm relatively quickly. And that's a good situation to be in if you're a Kalista. You have to remember that you do still trade well. Bard is extremely oppressive during the laning phase. When you go up against an Alistar, you always have that range advantage to keep it at arm's length. But the moment he goes in, the follow-up from Kalista is extremely easy.
See what the plan is going to be. Poppy coming around behind Nukeduck. Nukeduck now running for his life. Steadfast presence going to knock him back. Hammer Shock not going to connect. There goes the auto attack. He tries to get the kill, but the fancy footwork means a first blood for Xerxe.
First blood going over to the Unicorns of Love. Xerxe having more of an early game impact on Poppy than he was able to do on Kayn. Now good body slam.
Oh, moving for a little bit more. Ignite gonna tick him down. Vander so aggressive. Hylissang here as well, but there's fights across the map. Vedius Cabochard is out of mana, but he can swap forms, get a little bit of an AD buff. Not gonna pursue any further. Vizicsacsi knows he has the advantage if he can extend the trade, but just has to pull back. No more action on the top side.
So, big misplay there from Exileh, but as well, big misplay from Nukeduck. When we get the replay, I want you to keep an eye on Nukeduck's flash, because I definitely think that he did not flash in the direction that he wanted to. Maybe his cursor was over the mini-map. Maybe he just wasn't pointing in the right direction. We can break it down a little bit later as you see a couple more trades happen in the bottom lane.
Well, Vedius, run us through it.
So here we go. So the good flank here from Xerxe. Nukeduck, he doesn't have any escapes like Caitlyn does. You just watch the flash here. Backwards into the roots, and Djoko arrives far too late to be able to assist his teammate. And then what happened there was, a little bit later on, you saw Exileh jump up mid. He ends up overextending, and then a good punish from Vitality.
And already a nice shift coming in. You can see 0k+A at 15, of course, 0 kills for the Unicorns of Love. Xerxe definitely a part of those deficits in the early game. Now coming into game 2, things have changed up a little bit, and a lot of those early ganks can still make a massive impact in the mid lane. So good shift of pace coming in for the Unicorns of Love and for Xerxe. Now we have to see how Djoko's going to fire back.
On the bright side of all of this is Unicorns of Love can confidently say that no one will perfect gamers 2 times in a row. As they are already able to get themselves the first blood, will allow Exileh a little bit more control of the mid lane, but his death will mean that he will not get as big of an advantage as he could have done otherwise. Now, keeping your eyes on Xerxe once again, looking for a gank up top.
Ooh, nice knockback on the wall up. Quick little building to connect. Poppy not going to push for the dive. Jay's going to move down and throw down a bit of vision as well, so they will be able to spot him out. Djoko should see him as well, so they know exactly where Xerxe is and what he's trying to do. Of course, early Bomby Cinder, as well as a bit of extra vision, means Xerxe a lot of knowledge on the map.
Now I need to update you on the quick stat here, Mr. Drakos.
Oh, the quick stat, yes. Which
because
one?
After Exileh died, he is now the record holder with the most number of deaths during the summer split of 2017 at 113. That is a lot of deaths.
But he won something.
He did, in fact. Well, I mean, he's still within contention to win the regular season. He's still in playoffs. There are many bright sides.
But it's the little victories that get you there, Vedius.
It is the little... Well, that's a matter of perspective. Now, Vander coming in for a gank bot.
From Samux's perspective, definitely wanted to flash out of that one. Can't blame him. Cabo continues to play aggressive on the top side, playing around the Mega Gnar. Vizicsacsi wants to transform, but unfortunately, second unit Mega Gnar, entirely Spell Reliant, not going to be able to keep that trade going.
It's nice to see a Gnar not dominate a lane for a change. Absolutely love this Jayce pick. I think it was really smart from Cabo, picking it early as well. They realized that it would give Nukeduck a slightly rougher time in the middle lane, but the benefits gained topside are very obvious. Now, while he may very well be a little bit behind in terms of farm, the pressure is equalized in the top lane. You don't have a Gnar constantly hitting on the tower, which means that the only real risky lane right now is Exileh in the mid.
You can see the observers giving us the drama cam, letting us know Xerxe walks into the lane, looks like he was spotted, not unfortunately going to be able to get the gank off. But the game continues at a much slower pace than the last one we saw. Kills are being traded evenly this time around. There's no fumbles in the jungle. And Xerxe with a small advantage in the early game means the Unicorns of Love are a lot more content to be aggressive on the map, to push out and lay down some of this early vision.
Now remember, we talked about Unicorns of Love. They do once again have the option for a 1-3-1. Leblanc does very well into a side lane, and against an Orianna who can't really match her, that's a great position for Exileh to be in once the game results in a few extra items on each player. Same for Xerxe, he can happily sit off in the side lane, hold off Cabochard, and then you have this Caitlyn Bard in the mid lane along with Xerxe, who can act as a disengage tool to just group up and siege, and you play across the map on all 3 lanes. Meanwhile, they do still have strong team fighting. That's the important thing, as we see another headbutt pulverizing the bottom lane.
Looks like he's going to disengage, throw some damage down onto Hylissang. With Vedius, it's good to bring up the composition because Bard, Caitlyn, Gnar, Leblanc, these are comfort picks for the Unicorns of Love. And I like that when their back's against the wall, they try things that they've had success on. And yet, still the Unicorns of Love identity remains. Still, they are the team that is willing to try new things, and that is the Poppy jungle this time around. And you can see, or we'll have to see rather, if Comfort's going to pay off for them, because Djoko is here on the top side. Mega Gnar, flash forward on the gank, looking to burn him down before he can transform, trying to leap out, no chance. Cabo going to grab that kill, a well-executed tower dive by the side of Vitality.
And that Mega Gnar was just about to come up, so Vitality, they had to do that perfectly. And they were just about able to do it. Xerxe, he ends up dropping. Vitality get a slight gold lead once more. And they are on track to get that first tower of the game.
Unicorns of Love, what will they trade back? Because Vitality once again find themselves in a lead, only 1.3K this time around.
And note here, you can see in the top being pushed all the way to the tier 2 by Cabo. That means that the wave will then bounce back in his favor, but he could be overstaying as Xerxe makes his way into the jungle.
Now backing off, blue buff taken away by Nukeduck, yet another small advantage going over to the side of Vitality. And if you're a Unicorns of Love fan, you gotta be feeling nervous, because for Vitality, this match may not mean much, but for Unicorns of Love, it is their chance to fight H2K for #1 in Group B, to get straight to the semifinals, to avoid fighting any of the other teams, to guarantee a spot in Paris. So a lot on the line for these teams, but still pretty cool, still pretty confident despite falling behind yet again in the mid game.
And one of the big discussion points that I've seen a lot on social media, on Reddit, on Twitter is this really Europe's best teams? Is this something we need to be concerned about? And it was something that the analyst desk touched on. And personally, I don't think it is something we need to be massively concerned about. I think the bottom teams really are stepping up later on into the split. And if this challenges the top teams in Europe to recognize some of the weaknesses and make them better, I think that's a good thing. But it's about whether or not they can rectify any of those issues. And what we saw from the Unicorns of Love was in game 1, they couldn't quite make the early game work. But this time round, this is much more conventional for the Unicorns. Being in a slight deficit, being a little bit behind, not too bad. But then come the mid game, where they can force these fights if they want to, that's where we can really see the true strength of Unicorn. That's where we can see how they were able to make themselves one of the best teams in Europe.
And something Prolly said, they are better than most teams when it comes to these team fights, but it's not a massive difference. So we'll see if Vitality, with this sudden surge of ability and individual performances, can outfight the Unicorns of Love. They have the Alistar Kalista, they have the Orianna, some tools to force fights, but they've also got that Jayce in the top lane, and I think maybe Vitality's not looking for the fights. Not the case for the Unicorns. Nukeduck is going to make it away, though. Does have to burn Flash in the mid lane, and Samux and Hylissang just continue to put pressure down onto that Rift Herald. Focus now comes into the mid lane, however, Unicorns of Love going to look to get a little bit of damage down, of course. Unfortunate side effect of the meeps from Hylissang is that while trying to clear that ward, he did aggro the Rift Herald, followed them all the way to the mid lane.
That's a large patience bar. Vitality immediately back onto the objective. Now, keep your eyes on bottom lane, because both top laners do have TP. I imagine Unicorns of Love, they don't want to give this away for free, because it would guarantee that mid lane tower going down. Here comes Xerxe. Damage
going in, Xerxe buying more time he can. Djoko moving forward, chain CC coming out. Poppy trying to do what she can with the steadfast presence, flashing out to safety. Vander's leap forward, but how much more time does he have left on the ultimate? Should be okay. Bard ult not going to connect, does get the flash from Vander. A trade of skills there. Vizicsacsi almost full on the rage bar. He is ready to TP in if the team needs it, but it looks like they're just going to pull back on the side of Vitality.
And Unicorns, they achieved their goal. They stopped Vitality from committing to the Rift Herald. Vitality, they still have a healthy jungler, they still have a healthy mid, but Unicorns, similar positions. Xerxe, he will need to go back for a brief second, but then this Rift Herald clearly becoming a big point of contention between these both of these teams. They want to have that sieging power. They want to break down that next structure. And Unicorns, they're using this opportunity to get a bit of deep vision down on the entrances to Vitality's jungle. They know full well when Vitality try to force that objective. They're going to start it again.
Sneaks over the wall, but of course he has still been spotted out. Poppy on the bottom side, however, means that Vitality are very likely to secure this one. You can see Leblanc, Bard, and Caitlyn moving up to the top side of the map, but it may be too late. Xerxe not even trying to move up very likely means that the Unicorns of Love are content to give up this objective. However, maybe not one they can afford to. We'll have to see what Vitality can do with this Rift Herald.
Tell me, Drakos, how can one be too late or too late?
A little too late? Did I say too ladle?
You said too ladle.
Wow. So Unicorns of Love, yeah, falling behind a little bit. Not a ladle bit this time.
I think it's a great word. Ladle, very practical tool. Not that I can actually remember what a ladle is.
It's for soup.
Ah!
If I said soup scooper, would you understand?
Yes. Much more Welsh term to me. That's how we would call it.
I don't think that's true, man. I think
the good old soup scooper, that is.
There's a team playing for first place in their group right now. We're talking about soup scoopers. Right?
Well, Exileh takes a chunk of damage.
Vander luckily has the get out of jail free card. Those fences not gonna let too much damage through. Exileh dropping very low, but Nukeduck no flash to follow up. Put him down with the clockwork windup, and it's a split pushing Kalista on the top side that's gonna force a response from the Unicorns of Love. Yeah, you can't actually go over that wall, guys. It's not, Steelback didn't make a mistake there, don't worry.
So a bit of pressure comes out from the Unicorns of Love. They try to get a collapse down onto Vitality, but again, Vitality, just as they did in Game 1, was finding those ways to disengage, not falling prey to the tactics of Unicorns, which are, hey guys, fighters, it's fine. We're not that strong. And then somehow they're really strong and they end up winning the fight, and then they win games off of it.
Yeah, they do have a Mega Gnar, but unfortunately Cabo has a lot of lethality and an entire team on the way to back him up. Vizicacsi's going to turn mini soon. It will give him more options to escape, but it'll make him a lot less tanky. Oh no! The beacon has been lit. Vander calls for aid, folks, but Vizicsacsi, oh, the flash to extend. Steelback is on the way. Clean Gragas play coming in from Djoko. Vander with some massive disrespect, my God. Oh, that was a sick play.
And Vitality, they get the kill on Chachi. There is no Rift Herald to challenge for. Vitality will get themselves another structure, are poised and ready to make this a 2-0 after another fantastic start. Not quite as dominant as their Game 1, but the Unicorns of Love, their failure to find fights in the middle lane, their inability to make these opportunities happen, and Vitality's great ability to disengage time and time again is giving Vitality these advantages as now both teams group up mid once more.
And Vedius, I feel bad for the Unicorns because they're playing for so much, but I'm also just so excited about Vitality and the execution on the plays. The body slam flash was so good from Djoko, and Vizicsacsi so close to escaping once again, as he always does. But now once again, 17 minutes. 2K gold lead coming in for Vitality, 2 towers to 1. No dragons yet, but a Cloud Drake not gonna acquire a lot of attention, and a Kalista that's snowballing. Unicorns of Love have been here before. Luckily, they're not up against a fed Kassadin, but now they have to be worried about that Jayce, Youmuu's, and the Duskblade complete.
Yeah, that's a lot of lethality, and when you only have the armor boots, he hits pretty hard. He just has to walk in the brush, be unseen for a little while, hit you in the face, and there goes all your HP, especially when, now that you do have the Black Cleave, you do have a bit of HP, but it's really not going to mitigate that much. In the meantime, Orianna, well on her way toward completing her second item, based on the Blasting Wand and Apto. That could be almost anything. It could be an early Void Staff, it could also be an early Banshee's Veil, it could also be a Death Cap.
Oh, they're just going to knock the creep wave back. 2 creeps still here, however. Means Vitality will get down a little bit of damage. Nice. Thought that trap would connect, but it looks like Djoko knows the hitbox quite well. One more wave to push in, just a little bit more. Vitality trying to burn this one down. Unicorns of Love trying to threaten, but Vitality not scared whatsoever, and yet another tower is going to fall. Now a 3K gold lead backing them up as the carries are just suffering on the side lanes, trying to pick up what farm they can.
Vitality playing these side lanes beautifully. They're grouping up as a 4-man unit. Exileh trying to be some kind of threat off in the side lane, but Vitality, they've already pushed that wave out. They recognize the 1-3-1 that UOL do have available to them, and now Vander is coming in.
Cool. He gets the clone, but Exileh with the fast fingers there on the distortion does manage to make it out.
He read the play. He had the ward in the brush to spot Vander out, allowing Exileh to just dash away to safety. Has the level advantage over Nukeduck for the time being. So far, the map's still in control of Vitality. You can have a look at some of the vision they've placed towards the entrances of a lot of the Unicorns of Love jungle. Just being very mindful of what Unicorns are trying to do, and I feel like this is a great demonstration of how you can deal with a lot of these teams that love to try and force fights. And even though the composition is not about forcing fights for the Unicorns of Love, they're just trying to find picks, they're trying to find opportunities, try and punishing some of the positioning from Vitality. It's simply about having these bits of vision around, identifying the numbers of Unicorns of Love, and then Vitality just respecting it. Just saying, hey, you could collapse onto me right now, and we're not going to fall for it.
Samux gives up. It's not worth it, he says. I'd rather take the creep wave.
He'll go back to it.
Now, Vedius, I think the one thing that we do have to say about the Unicorns of Love is they have a couple characters on their team that have this insane value if they ever can find a team fight. That is the Gnar, that is the Poppy, and the Bard. A perfect Bard ultimate can set up a fight. A Poppy can knock out carries from a fight, but it's not going to matter because Vizicsacsi doesn't have any of those people by his side. Goodbye. Another death going to drop for the Unicorns of Love top lane.
What are the rest of the Unicorns doing? Because while Chachi is dying in the bottom lane, that was 3 members that were sent down there to try and kill him. You can see here, he has, can't quite see the mini-maps, so I'm not entirely sure what vision he has, but he has vision in the river. He's not expecting Cabo to be in the brush. And he gets attacked from all 3 sides, the river, the tri-brush, and his own lane. And Chachi, that's the lack of respect being shown there by him. While Vitality have always been very mindful of the possibility of maybe a Xerxe coming out of nowhere and Exileh appearing from the brush. Xerxe from the river.
Not going to matter. Fate's Call going to take him to safety. Unicorns of Love looking for those picks, but it's so difficult against this Alistar. Nukeduck, though, may be the man in trouble. Not going to find the stun. He's now running for his life. Has the flash and the heal, but so much damage going down. Djoko going to look for the body slam. Pulls back, but a nice flash from Exileh. Going to keep the play going. Djoko now may be the one in trouble. Knocked up. Stunned up. The chain CC going to come out. He's going to land on the trap. They're immediately going to follow it up with the binding. Perfect chain CC. Djoko tries to make it out of the wall. That's not how binding works, buddy. Samux going to grab a kill.
Good plays from Unicorns of Love. This was the kind of opportunity that they were looking for. They get a pick onto Nukeduck and Djoko. The Baron is alive. And here they go. They're going to force it.
TP coming in. Gnar ultimate available. Mini Gnar, though, may just be exhausted. Will Vizicsacsi get it up in time? Vander, Steelback on the way. 3v5. Can they find it?
Good stun.
Pulling back now, Cabo leaping forward, trying to buy time for the team. Not going to be able to take down Vizicsacsi. 2v5. Going to take a decent amount of time to get this Baron down. Nukeduck running forward. Lamar with a serious look on his face. Vander doing what he can. Steelback now in trouble. Exileh has to give the respect over to Steelback, but Samux does not. Leaping forward, has the red buff. Vander doing what he can. He just wants to kill somebody, but Samux is going to grab one. Vizicsacsi is going to grab 2, and Unicorns of Love walk away with the fight they want.
Unicorns are not able to get the Baron, but they get effectively a delayed ace onto Vitality. Splitting up Vitality, making sure that they are grouped up as a 5-man, but only ever fighting 2 or 3 of maximum against the tough squad of Vitality. And this is where it all starts off. They find a good pick onto Nukeduck. They force his flash. Really good flash here from Exileh to dodge out from the shockwave and get the kill. They can then continue their chase onto Djoko. And the rest of Vitality cannot respond in time. You can see Cabo waiting in base, ready to TP in if he saw an opportunity. But then there's nothing else on the map for Vitality to trade for. Now the Baron gets started. UOL, they're not about committing to it. They just wanted to get themselves a couple extra kills. If they get the Baron, that's great. But they realize it will be difficult against Steelback and Vander. Really good disengage there from Xerxe onto Alistar, along with Samux committing to Steelback, knowing he can guarantee his kills. Another fight happens in mid.
Fighting in the mid lane, Gnar is there. Vizicsacsi going to try to pull the team back. Shockwave starts from Nukeduck, but it looks like it only connects on the Hylissang. That's the pick to start the fight off, though. Vitality now have the momentum in the mid lane. Moving forward, backing off. 1 kill dropped. Only Hylissang taken off the board, but they may have their sights set on that Baron. They've got the Kalista to secure it if they want to go for the play.
Would be very risky. Bear in mind, Chachi did not use his ultimate in that fight. Samux still has his ulti as well. And looking at Nukeduck and Steelback, they do not have any of their ultis available. So he's going to go in.
They're taking a lot of damage. Vander on the backside, though. Xerxe going to knock him into the wall. Ultimate has to come out, laying down a little bit of CC, but Vizicsacsi keeping the rest of Vitality at bay. Gnar on the way in. That's the wallop. No ultimate to follow up. Vizicsacsi stopping the engage in its tracks. Does not want to see it.
So just like me, Vitality thought Chachi did have his ulti, so we saw double. We saw the flash come out from Vander, showing that respect. Recognizing, you know what, we don't want to get caught up. And while it does end up and an extra kill for Vitality onto Hylissang does not net them anything else in UOL. They're feeling a lot more confident in this game. They are at a goal deficit, but they're showing where their strength has come from, their ability to teamfight, their communication in this mid-game. They always find ways to get those advantages back. And right now, they are still behind. You can see how ready to fight they are.
This is not game one either. Unicorns of Love may be behind, but they are still definitely in this one. There is no Baron buff backing up Vitality, but they do have that 4K gold lead in their favor. Kills, though, just about dead on even. And the man with all that gold in his pocket is going to be Samux for the Unicorns of Love. And we've seen when the Unicorns are struggling, Vedius, Samux is always a player that you can rely on.
He is a man that I think that if he had not been playing as well as he has done this split, Unicorns of Love would not be in the position that they currently are. I feel like he's turned so many games in the favor of the Unicorns of Love. I think he's been so integral to the success of the team, and the development that he's made since joining the roster has been remarkable to watch. Very, very much enjoyed his growth.
He's always an exciting player to watch. This time it's the Caitlyn. We've seen the Twitch games as well, where he's been able to show up. And one man who we've been pretty critical of this split, and I think justifiably so, has been Steelback, but he's been playing incredibly well when he does get this Kalista. And now as we get later in the game, I just want to see what these carries do when they're matched head-to-head.
Well, game one, Steelback definitely had Samux's number, but in game two, things are a little bit different as Unicorns, they group up as a 5-man, Vitality on the defense.
Emba pull, Vander disengaged, Vizicsacsi not afraid. Exileh taking so much damage, knocked back, and the teammate gone! That's the start to the fight that Vitality wanted. Spin, spin, spin goes the hammer, out goes the jungler, but Vander's right back in, eyes on Vizicsacsi. That's the 2-man knockback. In comes Nukeduck, though, with the turnaround, that's the double kill. Vitality looking to outfight the Unicorns of Love. Looking to chase this one down. Hylissang and Samux gonna make it out, but Vitality with a massive win in the mid lane.
Oh, Vitality, they were on the defense, but Exileh oversteps once more. They find the misposition. They set up beautifully the chain CC, and now they have all 5 of their members. They have the Baron in their sights, and Drakos. Vitality are looking to keep the upsets going. They're looking to get the 2-0. Let's see if Samux and Hylissang can play spoiler. I don't think they can.
There's nothing you could do. That is the power of Kalista. That is the confidence of Vitality. I just want to see it again. It was... I'm out.
So keep your eyes on Exileh, because he plays the start of this fight exceptionally well, getting a lot of chunk damage down onto Nukeduck, forcing one of the big damage dealers from Vitality back. But because he stays underneath the tower, and with a great shock blast from Cabo, followed by the knockback from Djoko, all the pieces just came together. And even though the knockback comes in from Xerxe, you're able to get Vander onto the back line. You're able to have Nukeduck not get stunned up against the wall. There's no real follow-up from the rest of the Unicorns of Love, so Steelback, he's not in any real danger. Now they have the Baron. Now they're sieging onto the tier 2, and Vitality are looking to challenge one of the top 4 teams in Europe. The questions were, could they do it, Drakos? You asked me, could UOL get the comeback? Well, UOL, they started, they found ways, but Vitality are looking to demonstrate that they can do it again, and they can defeat the Unicorns.
Definitely on the road to do so. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on that Baron buff. 6K, almost 7K in the lead. 5 towers to 1. 3, 1, and 2 on that Jayce. He has a Lord Dominix backed up by a Duskblade and a Youmuu's. You saw he could almost one-shot a LeBlanc barrel from Djoko as backup did clear it up, but everything is going well now for Vitality. The question is, what can they get with this Baron buff? Can they break open the base, or can Unicorns of Love find a fight on their terms?
Well, now they're just grouping up as a 4 and allowing Cabochard to spill off in the side lane. They need to set up a bit more of a push in the top side, because I feel like it's slow pushing in the favor of the Unicorns of Love, but they do have bot lane pushing in their favor. Now, as the Unicorns go to answer Vitality, they're just grouping mid and they're going to siege.
Decent tools to do so. No Caitlyn on their side. That makes it a little bit more difficult. Kalista gives them the objective control for sure, but not the best tool when it comes to pressuring out. Luckily, they have that Jayce in the side lane. 4-1 now coming in for Vitality. Unicorns, decent wave clear as you mentioned earlier, Vedius. They have the Caitlyn. Now looking to find the pick. Vander potentially in trouble. Fate's Call's available, though. Waiting to see if he has to use it. Steelback patient. Just going to use the Alistar ult instead. Know that the Fate's Call can be more important as an engaged tool.
So ulti for ulti traded. Vander, that will be down for about 80 seconds, but the tower is still gained in favor of Vitality. They have a minute left on the Baron. I think it's going to be difficult for them to really break into the base at this point, especially without that Alistar ulti. Depends if Cabo can land any great shock blasts as he just did onto Exileh.
Tower getting lower.
They're doing it, wow.
Vizicsacsi pulling back. Poppy is in the mid lane for some reason, pressing forward. No hesitation here from the Vitality lineup. Looks like Unicorns of Love either knew that they had to give this one up or just did not respect the pushing power.
I completely agree with you, Drake. It's like poor positioning there from the Unicorns. We talked a lot about the Poppy in the early game. We saw a bit of early action, but we haven't really come back to it since. We've seen it offer some value in team fights, but I feel like that this pick has not done a huge amount as Chachi is now in a lot of trouble.
Mininar will come
he's gonna
out.
be fine.
It's just gonna run away, gets a little speed boost coming out of Mininar, is looking to leap over, may not get the chance though. Vizicsacsi deleted.
Down goes the Gnar. The lethality build's coming out from Cabo, level 17.
Oh my
and
God.
the cowbell
Oh my God, Vander.
disrespect.
You can't do that to them. He's kicking them when they're down, Vedius.
Unicorns. They went for some interesting picks. They're trying a different style, but as you rightly said, a little more comfort coming out. The Caitlyn on Samux, he had it in game 1. Not the best of performances, but much better in game 2. Chachi with the Gnar. Xerxe with the Poppy, definitely a little bit different, but Exileh on this Leblanc so far, they are getting routed by Vitality, who are just continuing to dominate with this composition.
Eyes on Xerxe and the Keeper's Verdict trying to threaten. If anyone tries to come in and start a fight, you will get knocked right back out. We'll stop Vitality from pushing any more. But Vedius, last game, I could not believe it when Unicorns of Love were not able to find a way back. Game 2, it's happening again. Vedius, I'm starting to believe Vitality are on the road to 2-0 Unicorns of Love.
And they're on the road to guarantee H2K a first place bye in Group B.
I'm excited for Sjokz to give us the breakdown when we make it back to the desk of Prolly's emotional outbreaks as this game is going down. Praying for Vitality to come out on top. And
Vander doing his old teammate a solid. You said at the start of the day that Vitality were doing this for Splyce. They were doing it because they want to try and help Splyce make it into second. Splyce are locked in third. Regardless of the outcome of the Unicorns of Love, there is no way for them to overcome and move higher in the standings. But what was on the line was Unicorns still having that opportunity to make it into first place. There was still that possibility. But it all rode on Unicorns getting a victory here. And so far, Vitality are denying them that opportunity. Vitality, they have come out the gate swinging. They have done an NIP, and they are looking to take this series.
the NIP, I like it. Is that what we're calling it now? Well, this has been a week of upsets, folks. I don't even know how to
describe it. We're full NA now, boys.
But Cabo dominating on this Jayce, the team setting up. We got to say, good performances across the board for all of the Vitality lineup. Just look at those score lines and you can see it's definitely the case. 8K, 9K actually now for Vitality. Once again, Unicorns of Love, we're at the point in the game, Vedius. We've been here before. Unicorns of Love holding on, doing what they can to just stay in the game, not looking to give anything up. And this gold graph definitely tells you a story of why that might be the case.
Now, all 3 lanes pushing in favor of Vitality. 9,000 gold lead in their favor. They're just waiting for the Baron buff. Watch as how they set up vision in the top half of Unicorns of Love jungle while denying as much vision as possible. They have 2 options now. Vitality can either look to get themselves a pick and translate into a Baron, or they can just rush it down. They have the Kalista. They don't have many Drakes on their side, but it doesn't matter. They have a 9,000 gold lead, which is all they really need to rush down that objective. And for Unicorns of Love, they're kind of limited in their options. Do they concede the Baron and hope for a base defense, or do they go for the fight? I feel like they're inclined to go for the fight. Because that's just the Unicorns, but we'll have to wait and see.
Let me spell for you. Well, I'm going to hold that thought because it looks like we're going to have to fight in the mid lane. Vander taking a ton of damage. Does have the ultimate to keep him alive for now. Xerxe looking for the disengage. Will knock one member out of the fight. Vizicsacsi keeping it going, waiting for that Gnar to come in. Eyes on Vizicsacsi. Where's the Gnar going to go? Exileh leaping forward for a little bit of damage. Vizicsacsi not going to pull the trigger. A few seconds on Gnar. Has the flash, has the ultimate. Will he go for it? Vitality disengaging, not looking to keep the fight going. Nukeduck. Thought he saw an opportunity to shockwave there on that redemption. Not going to pull the trigger. Both teams just poking at each other, looking for an opening.
But this is a good fight for the Unicorns of Love. What they don't realize is that top lane inhibitor is down. There are minions knocking onto the Nexus towers. The Unicorns of Love, they're in a tough decision right now because they have to deal with the minions, but they do not want to concede the Baron.
Spotted on the vision. Exileh going to do what he can to clear. Shock Blast not going to connect. Hylissang is in trouble, almost immediately deleted. That's going to be the spear over the wall. A pick to start it off. Vitality have not won yet, but Vizicsacsi is already back. TP is up and available. Rage is building. This is the last chance. This is the last dance for the Unicorns of Love. Vitality may be able to close it out if they can secure this Baron.
And this is exactly what Vitality were looking for. Either a pick or a fight. They avoided the fight from the Unicorns once again. They found a beautiful disengage, and they did not cave to the pressure that the Unicorns tried to exert. They found a kill onto Hylissang. Unicorns did not feel confident fighting the 4v5. Vitality get the Baron. They have an insurmountable gold lead, and now they're looking to take more of the base from the Unicorns.
10K down for the Unicorns of Love. 3 seconds on Hylissang to return. Baron may end the game for them, but Unicorns of Love still have 1 fight left if they can take it. Vizicsacsi, though, taking so much damage, has to leap out to safety. Steelback looking for the 1v1 versus Exileh. Some cooldowns burned. Does get the heal back. But at this moment, they're grasping at straws, looking for any opportunity they can get. Cabo now TPing in as well to the bottom side. Vitality. They know they don't have to fight. They're not looking to take one. They just want to keep the split pressure up.
They have 4 members mid, they're doing the 4-1. Someone from Unicorns, they had to go out and deal with the top side, and the problem with Kalista right now is a short range, making it difficult to see Nukeduck. Notice where he's positioned his ball as well. That threat is something that the Unicorns always have to play around, because one shockwave can very swiftly result in their demise.
What are you doing, Vizicsacsi?
That's it, that's the window. Vitality 5v4, there is nothing standing in their way, they're gonna fight.
Megan look for it. Vander now moving forward, knocks Sosi right back into the middle of the team. Steelback uncontested on the backside. It's the same story for Nukeduck and Cabochard. All the carries free to hit onto the Unicorns of Love lineup. Vander, will he have given his life? The headbutt to try to take him out to safety. Looking to mitigate a little bit, trying to fire back, but Exileh may have just thrown himself into the Wolves' den. Samux gets a kill back for the team. Cabo may just be too strong though. Shock blast forward, shut down onto the Caitlyn. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot believe my eyes in 2 of the best games we've seen from them. All split. Vitality take down the Unicorns of Love.
And with that win, Vitality lock in H2K's first place spot in Group B. Look at how happy Vander is. And look at Jankos. Jankos is there too.
The Polish Brotherhood. Jankos and Vander on stage hugging it out. He couldn't do it for Splice, but I'll be damned if he couldn't do it for Jankos. Vitality. A beautiful performance, Vedius. Nothing but celebration for this team. They got 1 more match to play against Splice. But man, what an already fantastic way to look to close out the season.
And now the question is going to be on a lot of people's minds. Are our bottom teams suddenly really good? Or are there big weaknesses in our top teams that are being exploited? Because right now, I feel like Unicorns of Love, it's not that they played badly. Game 1, you could make arguments that sure, they made a few bad decisions and Vitality capitalized, but I think that's the bigger takeaway. Vitality always capitalized. They found great ganks. They found great fights. They played to their composition beautifully while avoiding the win conditions of their opposition. It was so impressive to watch this Vitality squad go from a perfect game into not quite a perfect game, but executing their composition flawlessly.
Definitely was the case. Will Vitality take the series and secure first place for H2K? Let's head over to the analyst desk to wrap up the day.
Thank you very much, Drakos. We will talk to someone on Vitality in just a second. But first, congratulations, Mr. Prolly. You've locked in first place with H2K due to this Unicorns of Love loss. How do you feel?
It's pretty good. I'm happy about it. It's nice.
Yeah, and you were very calm during the games,
Yeah.
always believing in Vitality to win.
He was really turning into kind of Yamato Cannon the second when he was looking, no, don't do this, yes, yes, make that movement, don't throw.
It was an exciting series. Even though it was a 2-0, it was very stressful as a viewer.
Oh,
as
yeah.
Yes,
Me,
as a
yes.
viewer with a lot on the line.
With a
Yeah,
lot on the line,
stressful.
and exactly, which
Yeah.
were the Vitality fans because they were playing for nothing, but Yamato had said no regrets. Let's play our hearts out. We're
Yep.
going to take a look at a couple of highlights from Game 2. It was more competitive than Game 1, at least. I feel like Vitality did have to fight for it a bit more because Unicorns of Love put up more of a fight.
I mean, I think also this is kind of Vitality went for a lot riskier of a draft, which is why this win was a lot more impressive to me than Game 1. I feel like this was actually a really hard comp for them to play.
It was, but I loved in the early game with the Jayce counterpick into the Gnar, how after Unicorns actually had the chance to swap the Gnar,
Swap their top and bot lane.
swap the top and bot lane, they actually ended up just continue playing the 1v1, and then suddenly Cabochard managed to get 1,000,000 easy trades onto Vizicsacsi, and we saw some of the setups before, and then he rushes Duskblade, he goes Ghostblade, so it's like full lethality Jayce, just running crazy in the game, literally one-shotting everyone.
And when we're talking about difficult composition, we did have a Bard and a Poppy jungle on the side of Unicorns of Love. So
don't
they,
like
why do you think they wanted to try something new in that quite important game in the end?
I don't know.
I think Poppy here actually made a lot of sense. Now, I'm not saying she's a fantastic jungler, but I think when you see Alistar on the other side and the Gragas as well, Poppy W is super good at stopping
Dashes,
potential hard engages with dashes, and I think her ulti is still game-changing. The problem is her issue as a jungler and even as a top laner is that there are many stages of the game where she does nothing, where she offers very, very little. So early game, as an example, you're not really going to help your lanes that much because you're Poppy. And then when
Hey, she
people
got a
around,
gank off.
and she got one gank off, that's true. But then when you start seeing your top laners getting completely destroyed by a Jayce and you can't really go up there and help too much, the Poppy can fall a little bit flat.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I kind of like the Poppy,
I
but
guess
they didn't
it's
see the
really-
Alistar though. That was last pick.
Okay, but they still, they had the
But, yeah,
Gragas.
so-
they saw the Gragas.
Yeah,
and they saw
I
the
had a
Kalista as
feeling
well.
like maybe Poppy's okay. I think it's okay. That's where I'll put it.
Yeah.
Tell
Bard-
Orianna it's awesome.
Yeah. Not a fan of it top lane. But, all right, the Bard, I only like it to catch Orianna. Because really, their comp works well. Like, if they have Jayce in the top lane and then they're playing, 4 mid, if you catch the Orianna, there's no... Gragas is the tank that you have to play through, but you're not playing through, a tank top, tank jungle. You're going to be playing against, a split pusher top. And then if you catch this Ori, who's, super easy to catch with Bard ult if you're, good at it, sound effects are important, to my point. Then I think the Bard can be good. But again, yeah, the lane is kind of rough and stuff, but then Caitlyn kind of makes up for the bad lane. And then the Bard ult into the Caitlyn trap. I get the synergy,
Yep.
but it's definitely not super meta.
The Disney, not super meta, didn't work out for them. Vitality showed us some great things. Vander is the player of the series. You mentioned the Alistar. He make the sound effect for the...
I can't remember what
the
it
bell?
was now. I'm just happy
The
for
bell is
Vander.
like dung, 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 dung.
But that's cool to see. Vander, he also was up against Yonkos, and they always have a lot of Twitter
And he
banter
did it for
beforehand.
H2K.
He did it for
H2K.
H2K. Is that what it was?
He
My
played out of
heart
his
goes out.
mind for Vander and Prolly. and
Yonkos,
little
this is for you.
Yankos. That's probably what he yelled in game.
Yeah.
At least now he did. I
Yeah.
heard him yell it through here from the studio to the analyst.
Yeah, and a nice game a nice match rather for Vitality, even though nothing was on the line. Very convincing, starting the week with a great win. Let's head over to Medic, who is sitting down with their mid laner. Yay!
Thank you very much, Sjokz. I am joined by Nukeduck. Congratulations on the 2-0. How does it feel to secure H2K first spot in Group A?
I mean, yeah, I guess it felt good to win. It was not that much about the H2K game. It was more like trying to play as good as we can and try to win. Yeah.
Well, you guys definitely picked up the win on the day. I want to talk a little bit about you and your progression across the split, looking back at how the split has been for Nukeduck. How do you feel now that you're coming to the end of the split? How has it been for you?
I think the split for me was okay. It was kind of similar to the last 2 splits, in terms of gameplay. I had some good games, but we couldn't really mesh as a team well enough to really compete against the top teams. So I would say it was a fine split, yeah, a fine one.
Because a lot of people rate you quite near the top of sort of EU mid laners. Caps put you at the top of his list. Deficio says you're a very good mid laner as well. There's lots of praise for you going on. Do you think you rate yourself near the top of EU mid laners as well?
I think it's very hard to say. I think sometimes I play pretty well, but I think as well this split I had some games where I didn't play that well. So I think I'm not sure myself.
I think you're being very modest, Nukeduck. A lot of people would put you up near the top of the EU mids. You said that Vitality, you kind of lacked a bit of synergy throughout the split. You seem to have hit a bit of a stride as a team now with Yamato Cannon as a coach. Do you think coming into next split that you guys are a force to be reckoned with?
Yeah, I think Yamato has definitely been a positive addition for the team, and the more splits we play with him, the better. So yeah, I think he helped us come together. And but yeah.
So you're looking forward to next split. You think you can make a run?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next split. Yeah. Right.
Excellent. You've got one more game this split against I think it's Splice on Sunday. Yeah. Are you looking forward to that game? Or are you going to show us anything a little bit inventive?
We might, because the game will end up not mattering for anyone. I think. So we might do some fun picks. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to something fun from you. We're going to hand it back to the analyst desk to break down today's action and to lead us into what this all means for playoffs.
Thank you very much, Medic. First up, to that interview and to Vitality. You know, if the new season started tomorrow, I'd also be super excited for Vitality, because we sometimes forget that Yamato, it is only his first split with this lineup. And even though some of the players have kind of gotten the stigma of they always end up in the safe place and never really get to playoffs, this is nice. This is quite exciting to me. But the problem is, how do you retain that for so long?
I mean, that's kind of the thing they're trying to figure out, I feel like, with Vitality. A bit like with last split, I feel like they started really bad and then actually got better and better towards the end. This split a little bit more than last one. So it's always a little bit of a shame it takes so long for them to do it, because you kind of want to see these guys really challenged, like Splice and Unicorns, for the playoff spots. But they end up getting to this point when it's too late. So that's a little bit of a shame, but Vitality is such a weird team, because you feel like they're supposed to do more. And then every year or every split, you're kind of being let down a little bit. And you kind of lose hope. A little bit, at least.
But yeah, you lose a little bit of hope, but hopefully they can retain some of this for the start of next split and see what happens. But we are going to take a look at the standings, because after that loss, the Unicorns of Love, they have no chance whatsoever, probably 0% to catch up to H2K, who are locked in first place. That means that everything you see here is exactly as it's going to stay. We're playing for nothing the next 2 days. So hopefully we'll see some crazy picks.
Fun picks.
Indeed. But that means that this is the bracket that we are given. Quarterfinals, Unicorns of Love Misfits, and G2 versus Splice.
Yes, and I just want to explain the reseeding that obviously happens from quarterfinals into semifinals. Like, the most important thing to look at is that, first of all, we're trying to obviously make sure that a team will face a team from the other group, if possible. And then the highest seed from, let's say, Group A, which is Fnatic, if G2 win their semifinal, they will be the second highest seed of Group A, so they will not face Fnatic in a semifinal. They will have to go and play H2K on the other side. So if G2 wins, it's a guaranteed H2K versus G2 semifinal that will happen. Because obviously, if then Misfits also beats Unicorns of Love, well, they will be the lower seed from that group, and they will have to play Fnatic, who is the highest seed. And that is why the G2 H2K semifinal will most likely happen. A lot of people were predicting a potential final, maybe, of these guys, but it can't happen. Have to play in the semifinal.
Have to play in the semifinals. So let's talk about these quarterfinals up on our plate. Maybe starting with G2 versus Splice. Is there one of the quarterfinals that is more clear-cut to you guys than the others? Or are they both?
Oh, I mean,
I feel like they're both evenly one-sided.
Evenly
or
one-sided.
more one-sided.
I mean, I am not so confident in the Unicorns versus Misfits one that there's a clear favorite going into it, judging from the last 5 weeks of Unicorns of Love games.
I mean, I think Unicorns are clear favorites. I wouldn't say like Misfits has no chance or something, but I would say, yeah, if I was a betting man, then that would probably be a more safe bet than Misfits right now. I mean, Misfits look good, but I mean, yeah, UOL still has mess-ups, but again, you always have to consider, like, yeah, they're not a clean macro team. So their losses are going to look like this, and they're going to have a lot more losses than, you know, a more like systematic team.
Sure. I'm also just concerned about Exile's champion pool in a best of 5 with now a week to prepare for it. The reason I'm not saying Unicorns won't be favorites in this. I'm just saying they won't be clear favorites in my mind. Like, it's not an 80-20 or something for the Unicorns of Love, which if you look at G2 versus Splice, judging from, you know, the last few weeks where we've seen a lot of people would put G2 as a very heavy favorite in that matchup, despite them losing, obviously, yesterday. So, to me, the Misfits, Unicorns of Love, there's a lot more room for upsets. Sure, slight favors Unicorns of Love, but by no means enough for me to say they for sure will make semifinals.
So is there a lot of room for upsets in that one? Because Unicorns of Love obviously are the team that play a very aggressive style and also tend to lose very heavily when they do give away the advantage. And I want to say for Misfits, I feel kind of the same because I wouldn't put all my money in Misfits in terms of if they have an early lead, they will make no mistakes and close it out if it isn't the 20k lead, obviously. I don't think they're at that point specifically.
Yeah, thankfully for that. But you also have to consider every single one of PoE's champ pools got nerfed for the next patch.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, other than, I guess LeBlanc got touched, but Exileh doesn't play like any of those other mids, so I feel like the patch hurts, like Exileh and the other teams a lot, or sorry, PoE and their teams a lot more.
I still wonder if PoE will have some new things prepared. Like, he is actually one of the guys who going into playoff games in the past have shown something new. Like, he introduced, was it Lulu mid lane, was last split coming in, that actually ended up being very successful for him as a counter pick to LeBlanc specifically. And, I mean, he will still be able to also play some of the old picks we've seen from him before. And Syndra nerf, I don't actually remember how big it is on the next patch, I still believe.
0.1 ratio. It's kind of like her sustained damage later.
Yeah, so
doesn't hurt lane too bad.
She's still going to be okay, at least for laning phase, which is a big one for him. Obviously, the Orianna nerf could touch him, but I don't know. I just feel like Unicorns, a lot of their recent trends the last few weeks, and even the week just before Rift Rivals where they almost lost to NIP, like, I haven't had this feeling of them being consistently good and like putting a lot of trust in them, because the early game is most of the time extremely weak and very, very inconsistent. And yes, they will rely on late game team fighting, but as we have seen, so will a lot of other teams. And they kind of match Unicorns of Love. Like, there's actually a point Prolly made like weeks ago when I talked to him about this patch, and he was like,
finally get credit for it.
Hey, I gave it actually already. I called you even Lord Commander Prolly, but you didn't watch.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't watch, so you didn't see it.
I need to go find that.
Anyway, I just feel like there's not enough from Unicorns right now for me to say they will for sure win this matchup. I think they will win, but not like guaranteed.
Yeah, and I would say, obviously, that's what the Unicorns of Love want you to think, but it's
I mean,
a bit
I'm picking them to win, so that's something.
Yeah, you're still paying them to win, and as you say, what we've praised them for, even the early game has not been spectacular, maybe even the whole year. We kept praising them for pulling the trigger at 20 minutes, at 25 minutes, and finding those fights. But as said, due to the patch and how other teams are playing the game, those strengths have seemed to fall off. So we'll have to see what they bring in the quarterfinals. The other one, quickly, G2 versus Splash. You guys said that one is more 80-20 in favor of G2. Probably, do you agree with Deficio?
Yeah, I mean, Splice has had like some troubles still recently. Like, they're a hard team to judge because I always feel like they can do really well, but I just haven't seen it. So maybe it's more like a belief in the players than like what the results have shown. So I still think they have a possibility, but it's just like looking at their games, it hasn't been that. And G2, on the other hand, is kind of like starting to get more back in form. And I think the meta favors them a lot right now. So I would say they're definitely the big favorites here. Yeah.
Interestingly, all the same teams are in playoffs as in spring. So that means that for the Gauntlet, all these teams can still make Gauntlet as well. So all the teams that are in the playoffs can make Worlds.
All right, predictions, Prolly. Which 3 teams will go to Worlds?
Probably HUK is going to be in there.
Okay.
Right?
Championship points?
Yeah, let me go say not my team in the top 3.
Sure, I mean, that's fine.
And then I'll probably say G2 and Fnatic.
I was going to say the same, but that's a boring one.
What's your ideal scenario? For you, it's probably Fnatic, G2 final, Fnatic wins.
There's no ideal scenario for me,
no?
because whoever makes the final deserves to be in the final in front of that insane
Come
crowd.
on, you must have a match of that. You'd be crazy.
I mean, everyone wants to see Fnatic versus G2, you know, the old Kings
just
versus
doesn't want
new
to say
Kings
that
and that kind of
me,
thing. No, I'm just saying,
I think that's
like,
what it was.
I think a lot of people want to see that, but at the same time, like, I would love for an H2K to finally make a final, potentially even win the EU LCS for once. Like, that would also be a cool story. Or Unicorns of Love bouncing back now when they don't look too sharp and still go all the way to the final. Like, there are a lot of awesome possibilities.
I like the first one.
Let's
go with that.
The Fnatic G2 one?
Yeah,
No. That one was already passed. The first one is the...
No, but I think you make a great point. Nice. There are a lot of storylines going into playoffs. It isn't as clear-cut as it has been. And tomorrow, we might get a taste of what is to come. We have the Clash of Kings, Fnatic versus G2, facing one last time before playoffs. Obviously, the pressure is off because it's not for anything. But Young Buck said on the desk here yesterday, you know what? Of course, the crown will be decided at the end of playoffs. But the intermittent crown is being dealt out tomorrow in this matchup. There might be some crazy things, but I think these teams will still fight tooth and nail for this game.
I mean, you might as well use the time on stage as much as you can without showing too much. There's a patch change happening, so I guess meta-wise, you pick Syndra. Oh my god, what a crazy surprise. I'm going to predict a Yasuo pick.
Finally!
That's going to happen.
I don't know. I've talking to these players, I don't think any of them is comfortable like, yeah, let's just lose this game to G2 or lose this game to Fnatic.
No,
I'm pretty sure they're going to like
win.
try to kill each other.
Well, I mean, also, let's remember the huge embarrassment they faced just yesterday against NIP and Rockout. For them, maybe their egos are a bit...
Yeah, I think this is going to be a try-hard match. Even though it's 4-0 kind of, I think it's going to be super try.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I can see one or two like low, hey, I want to test this pick on stage, and then, but in-game, full focus.
Yeah.
They'll only say I was testing this if they lose.
Sure,
if they win, they're like, oh yeah, we prepared that so long.
We were saving it for this match, very important match.
Yeah. Who's casting it?
Trevor, Quickshot, and myself.
All right, so...
debating if we should wear king outfits, because it's the Clash of the Kings.
So just the crown.
Well, a cape as well.
A cape as well. Will there be any...
We're saving that for very special moments, Sjokz. We don't just slap around all the time. Those are very key moments.
All right, the slapping is for key moments, not for right now. Thank you guys very much for this analysis of the playoff bracket, and thank you for joining us, Prolly. Congratulations once again on locking in first place. Thank you guys for watching. We will be back tomorrow for more action in the LCS. Have a great night.
H2K and the Unicorns of Love tried and prove that the top teams in the EU still belong at the top. HP amazing low as well. Jankos has to jump away. They're going to get the knock up onto Odo on there. Jankos flashes in. Burst Blood King once again for H2K.
I'm basing.
He didn't have vision to go for, but let's see here. Vizicsacsi is going to jump in onto Jankos. He jumps up in H2K. Show us what you do if you are the first team in your group. We'll get the play back. Dreams jumps across the wall. There is a cocoon. Bivin trying to get the kill across the wall. First blood. Clear's not done. He wants to jump on towards Yuki, trying to split the atom as Yuki gets taken out. A double kill. But here comes Coscu as well. And Coscu has heal, but he doesn't want to heal his teammates.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
1,000 HP on the Baron. They will kill Dreams, but amazing secures the Baron for Mysterious Monkeys, and now they're looking for the re-engage. And H2K are going to look straight into the eyes of the Unicorns of Love and say, your move.
Can't Unicorns of Love move up further? Running for his life, Spike and healing up a little bit. Exile running for his life, can't afford to get hit by it. That's first blood. Xerxe on the way in, has no ultimate. They haven't even killed Nukeduck. Vitality, they're looking for one more. That's the double. Two members locked up, they're looking to keep the fight going. Galio ult is coming in. One member knocked up, Cabo. Now moving forward, looking for a little bit more. Out comes the Maokai ultimate. Triple. It's not even needed. Celeste, no hope for Samux. No hope for the Unicorns of Love here as the triple kill comes in. That's going to be game one.
Well done, well done, well done.
Oh no! The beacon has been lit. Vander calls for aid, folks. But Vizicsacsi, oh, the flash to extend. Steelback is on the way. Clean Gragas play coming in from Djoko. Leaping forward, has the red buff. Vander doing what he can. He just wants to kill somebody. But Samux is going to grab one. Vizicsacsi is going to grab two. And that's the two-man knockback. In comes Nukeduck, going to turn around. That's a double kill. Vitality looking out. Fight the Unicorns of Love. Shut down. Onto the Caitlyn. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot believe my eyes in two of the best games we've seen from them. All split. Vitality take down the Unicorns of Love.